I know this is not the first time you are hearing that your brain is not wired to make you rich, happy, or successful. It is wired to make you survive. Most people hear this and they brush it off. They think it's not true, or it's just one of those things people say in personal development. Something that sounds deep but doesn't really apply to real life. But the truth is this: your brain, as it is right now, does not want you to be successful. Not because it hates you, not because something is wrong with you, but because it is trying to protect you. Your brain loves you so much that it will always choose survival over anything that feels like a threat. And to your brain, anything unfamiliar is a threat. Anything you have not experienced before is a threat. Anything that is outside of your normal way of living is a threat, even if that thing is success. That is the part that confuses a lot of people, because consciously, you say you want success. You say you want more money, a better life, better habits, more discipline. You say all these things, but subconsciously, your brain is rejecting it. Not because success is bad, but because success, to your brain, is unfamiliar. And anything unfamiliar feels unsafe. And anything unsafe must be avoided. So what happens is, you find yourself in a situation where one part of you wants to move forward, but another part of you keeps pulling you back. You start something and you stop. You try to change and you go back. You make a decision and you break it. And you start asking yourself, why am I like this? But the truth is, it's not that you are weak. It's not that you are lazy. It's not that you don't want success. It's that your brain has not been trained to accept success as something that is safe. And until your brain sees success as safe, it will continue to resist it, no matter how badly you say you want it. This is what a lot of people don't understand, and this is why they struggle for a long time trying to change their life. But this is not a problem. Your brain behaving this way is not a problem. It is doing exactly what it was designed to do. It is protecting you based on what it knows. The real problem is not understanding how to work with it. Because once you understand how your brain actually works, and once you learn how to train it properly, you can get it to stop resisting the success you want and start accepting it as something normal. By the end of this video, you are going to understand clearly how your current habits, your beliefs, and your patterns are making you unconsciously reject success, and more importantly, how to train your brain to start accepting it and moving you in that direction naturally. The first step in training your brain to start attracting success is understanding. You have to understand what is really going on, because if you don't understand it, you will keep trying to fix the wrong problem. Understand this clearly. Your brain, as it is right now, is not wired for success. If it was, you wouldn't be here trying to figure things out. You wouldn't be watching this video. You wouldn't be struggling to change your habits or your results. Things would already be working in your favor naturally. But the fact that you are here means there is a gap between where you are and where you want to be. And that gap is not random. It is a reflection of how your brain has been wired. Now this is where it gets deeper. You need to understand that we live in a world of duality. Everything has two sides. Everything operates on polarity. If something is not one thing, it is automatically the opposite. We have hot and cold, up and down, good and bad, light and dark, happy and sad. So if your brain is not wired for success, then by default, it is wired for the opposite. And the opposite of success is failure. Now this might sound harsh, but you have to understand it for what it is. Because your current reality is already showing you the truth. If you are struggling financially, if you are inconsistent, if you keep starting and stopping, if you are not where you want to be, that is not by accident. That is evidence. That is proof of what your brain has been programmed to do. Your results are not random. They are a reflection of your internal wiring. And this wiring did not just happen yesterday. It has been built over time. Now let me explain where this wiring comes from so you can really understand it. Before the age of 7, your subconscious mind was wide open. This stage is what is known as the programming stage. At that point in your life, your mind was not analyzing things. It was not questioning things. It was not filtering information. It was simply absorbing everything. Because your brain at that stage is focused on one thing only: survival. And in order to survive, it needs to learn quickly. So it takes everything it sees, everything it hears, everything it experiences, and it stores it as truth. Not as opinion, not as something to question, as truth. These truths then become beliefs, and these beliefs become the foundation of how you see the world and how you behave in the future. Now think about it. You grew up in an environment. You heard people talk about money. You saw how people behaved around success. You experienced certain realities. Maybe you heard that money is hard to get. Maybe you saw people struggle financially. Maybe you saw people work hard and still not get results. Maybe you heard things like, life is difficult, or success is not for everyone, or you have to suffer before you make it. All of these things were not just passing statements. They were being recorded. They were being stored. And over time, they became your truth. They became your blueprint. So now, as an adult, when you say you want success, you are not starting from zero. You are operating from a deeply programmed system. And if that system was built on negative or limiting ideas about success and money, then that is what your brain now recognizes as normal. That is what your brain now sees as safe. So when you try to do something different, when you try to aim higher, when you try to change your life, your brain does not see it as growth. It sees it as a threat. Because it does not match the blueprint it has been using all these years. And this is why you find yourself resisting the very thing you say you want. Because your conscious mind is saying, I want success. But your subconscious mind is saying, this is not what we know. And when those two are in conflict, your subconscious will always win. Not because it is stronger, but because it is deeper. It is the program that has been running your life all along. So until you understand this, you will keep trying to move forward without realizing that the system you are using is designed to keep you where you are. And that is why understanding is the first step. Because once you see this clearly, you stop blaming yourself, and you start focusing on what actually needs to change. The second step to training your mind to attract success is identifying the limiting beliefs that are running the show. This step is very crucial because it is the foundation. And if the foundation is wrong, everything you try to build on top of it will keep collapsing. Think about it like this. Can you build a 10-story building on a foundation that was only designed for a 1-story building? You can't. It doesn't matter how beautiful the building is in your mind. It doesn't matter how badly you want it. It doesn't matter how much effort you put into decorating the top. If the foundation is weak, the building cannot stand. That is exactly how success works in your life. If you want to attract a bigger life, more money, more opportunities, more growth, you cannot do that with old beliefs that were built for struggle, fear, limitation, and survival. It will not hold. So if you really want success, you have to identify the beliefs that are underneath your life right now. Because whether you know it or not, they are there. And this is where a lot of people make a mistake. They think if they cannot consciously point to a limiting belief, then it must not be there. But that is not how this works. Your limiting beliefs are not sitting in your conscious mind, where you can easily reason them out and list them like items on a piece of paper. No, they are stored deep in your subconscious mind. That is why they are powerful. That is why they influence your life without asking for your permission. That is why they can be running your decisions, your emotions, your habits, and your results without you even realizing it. You are not always aware of what is controlling you. That is the point.
Let me explain it in a way that makes sense. Can you remember how you learned your native language? Most likely, no. You did not sit down one day and consciously study every word and every sound the way you would study for an exam. You simply grew up around it. You heard it over and over again. You were exposed to it repeatedly. You absorbed it naturally. And before you knew it, you could understand it. You could speak it. You could respond to it. You don't remember the exact day you learned it, but you know it is in you. That is the same way limiting beliefs are formed. You may not remember the exact moment you learned them. You may not remember who first introduced them to you. You may not remember the exact event that planted them, but they are there. And you know they are there because your life is reflecting them. If you did not have beliefs that limit success, then success would not feel so hard, so distant, so unfamiliar, and so difficult to hold. So the next question becomes, how do you identify beliefs that are buried deep in your subconscious mind? The easiest way is by checking in with your emotions, because feelings are the language of the subconscious mind. Your subconscious may not always speak to you in full sentences, but it is always communicating through feelings. So when a topic comes up and you feel something negative, heavy, fearful, guilty, tense,
irritated, or uncomfortable, that feeling is a clue. That feeling is not random. That feeling is trying to point you to a belief. That is why you need to slow down and pay attention to what you feel, especially around the subjects of money, success, abundance, rich people, progress, and achievement. Those feelings are revealing what is already stored inside you. For example, when you see a very rich person, what happens inside you? Do you admire them? Do you feel inspired? Or does something in you immediately become uncomfortable? Do you assume they got their money through illegal means? Do you naturally dislike them? Do you feel suspicious of them for no real reason? That emotional reaction is not just your personality. It is a cue. It is pointing to a belief you carry inside. Maybe the belief is that rich people are evil. Maybe the belief is that success corrupts people. Maybe the belief is that if someone has a lot of money, they must have cheated others to get it. Now, you may not say those words out loud every day, but if your emotions react that way automatically, then the belief is somewhere inside you. Or think about this. Anytime you think about making money, what immediately comes to mind? Do you think of opportunities, value, growth, and possibilities? Or do you immediately think of stress, hard labor, disappointment, and sacrifice? If your mind naturally goes to hard and difficult ways whenever money is mentioned, then that is another clue. It may mean you have a limiting belief that money is hard to get, that you must suffer before you earn, that abundance only comes through pain, that ease is not for you. And if that belief is in you, then no matter how much you say you want money, your subconscious will keep directing you towards struggle because that is the blueprint it already knows. Now let's go even deeper. When you think about being extremely successful or very wealthy, what do you feel? Do you feel excited? Or does something in you become afraid? Do you suddenly feel guilty? Do you feel like maybe wanting that much is wrong? Do you feel like God may not want you to have that much? Do you feel like success may make you proud, sinful, or disconnected from who you are supposed to be? Then you may have another limiting belief. Maybe the belief is that money is the root of all evil. Maybe the belief is that being rich is unspiritual. Maybe the belief is that wanting more is selfish. Maybe the belief is that good people should stay small and humble in a way that keeps them struggling. Again, these beliefs may not be sitting in your conscious mind in a neat sentence, but your feelings reveal them. Your emotions expose them. That is why this step is so important. Because until you identify the belief, you cannot challenge it. You cannot replace it. You cannot heal it. You cannot outgrow it. You cannot change what you do not know. That truth applies in every area of life. A doctor cannot treat you if he does not know what sickness you are suffering from. He can guess. He can assume. He can try random things. But until the problem is identified clearly, the right solution cannot be applied properly. It is the same with your mind. If you don't know what beliefs are running your life, then every attempt to change will feel random. You will affirm, you will pray, you will set goals, you will try new habits, you will get motivated. But somehow you will still keep running into the same invisible wall, because the foundation was never dealt with.
And I want you to understand something else here. This is not a one-day thing. This is not the kind of work you do once and then you are done forever. No, this is lifelong discovery, because some beliefs are shallow and easy to spot, but some are so deep-rooted that they do not surface until years later. Some beliefs only show up when you are about to level up. Some only show up when you start making more money. Some only show up when you are close to real success. Some only show up when life begins to stretch you into a bigger version of yourself. That is why you must stay aware. You must keep observing yourself. You must keep paying attention to your emotional reactions. You must keep asking yourself honest questions. Why did I react like that? Why did that make me uncomfortable? Why does success feel heavy to me? Why do I admire it one minute and reject it the next? Why do I say I want more but feel afraid when more gets close? These are the kinds of questions that expose the beliefs running underneath your life. And once you identify them, you are no longer blind. Now you can begin the real work. Now you know what needs to be changed. Now you know what has been running the show all along. And that is why this second step is not optional. Because if you skip this step, you will try to build a successful life on top of beliefs that were built for limitation.
and that kind of life will always feel unstable. The third step is replacing those limiting beliefs with supportive beliefs. After you have identified the limiting beliefs you have, the next thing you need to do is replace them. This step is very crucial, because you cannot delete a belief, you can only replace it. That is how the mind works. Your brain does not like empty spaces. It always needs something to hold on to. So if you try to remove a belief without replacing it, your mind will simply go back to the old one. That is why a lot of people try to stop thinking negatively, but they end up going back to the same thoughts, because they removed nothing. They replaced nothing. Now understand this clearly. We live in a world of duality. Everything has two sides. If it is not one thing, it is automatically the other. So if you are not operating from a belief that supports success, then by default, you are operating from a belief that supports limitation. There is no neutral ground. That is why the only way to destroy a limiting belief is not by fighting it, not by ignoring it, not by wishing it away, but by replacing it with the opposite supportive belief. That is the only way to uproot it completely. Now let me explain this in a way that makes it very clear. Imagine you are in a room with 4 pills, a black pill, a green pill, a blue pill, and a pink pill. And the instruction is simple. You need to take a red pill in order to treat your sickness and survive. Now you look at the options in front of you. There is no red pill, but you still need to choose something. So what do? You go for the pink pill. Why? Because it is the closest thing to red, and you don't want to die. Now understand this. The pink pill is close to red, but it is not red. It cannot give you the exact result that the red pill is supposed to give you. So after taking it, maybe you feel a bit better, but you are not fully healed. You are not completely recovered. And on top of that, you may even start experiencing side effects. Now the question is, how do you solve the problem? Do you throw the pink pill away and take nothing? No, because without taking anything, you might get worse. So the solution is not just to remove the pink pill. The real solution is to introduce the correct pill, the red pill. Once you find the red pill, you naturally replace the pink one. You don't struggle to let go of the pink pill. You don't need to force yourself to stop taking it. The moment the right option appears, the wrong one loses its place. That is exactly how belief replacement works. You don't spend all your time trying to fight your limiting beliefs. You focus on introducing stronger, more supportive beliefs. And as those new beliefs grow, the old ones naturally lose their power. That is how you uproot them. Now the next question becomes, how are beliefs actually built? Because if you understand how they were formed, you will understand how to change them. Beliefs are built in 3 major ways. The first one we already talked about. Between the ages of 1 and 7. At that stage, your subconscious mind was wide open. Everything you saw, everything you heard, everything you experienced was absorbed as truth. You did not question it. You did not analyze it. You simply accepted it. But now, you are no longer in that stage, so you cannot rely on that method anymore. Now you have to consciously build your beliefs.
And the second way beliefs are built is through repetition and feeling. This is where a lot of people get it wrong. They repeat affirmations, they say the words, they speak the declarations, but nothing changes. Why? Because they are only repeating words. There is no feeling attached to it. There is no emotional connection. And without emotion, the signal is weak. When you hear something once, it means nothing. When you hear it a few times, it becomes familiar. But when you hear something again and again, and you feel it, and you dwell on it, it begins to feel true, even if it started as a lie. That is what influence is. We have all been influenced one way or the other. The more exposed you are to something, the more it begins to shape your thinking. The more you hear it, the more you see it, the more you feel it, the more it becomes part of you. So when you take a supportive belief and you repeat it through affirmations, you hear it. When you speak it through declarations, you say it. And when you sit with it and think about it, you dwell on it. Now you are surrounding your mind with that idea. You are increasing its influence, and over time it becomes more believable. That is how you replace old limiting beliefs with new empowering ones. Now the third way beliefs are built is something deeper. It is called the theta brainwave state. This is the state where your subconscious mind is most open. This is the same state children operate in when they are very young. That is why they learn so fast. That is why everything they experience goes straight into their subconscious. Now as you grow older,
your conscious mind develops. You become more analytical, you begin to question things, and your brain shifts from that deep theta state into other states like alpha and beta, which makes it harder to access the subconscious directly. But the interesting thing is this: there are moments in your day where you naturally enter that state again, right before you fall asleep and right before you wake up. Those moments are very powerful because your mind is relaxed, your conscious mind is quiet, and your subconscious mind is more open to suggestion. You can also access this state through meditation. When you slow down, when you quiet your thoughts, when you become present, you begin to open the door to your subconscious. And in that state, the beliefs you introduce go deeper. They are received more easily. They are accepted faster. So when you combine all of this, repetition, emotion, and the right mental state, you begin to build new beliefs consciously. And as those beliefs become stronger, your mind begins to shift. Your perception begins to change. Your reactions begin to change. Your actions begin to change. And before you realize it, you are no longer operating from limitation. You are operating from a new internal system. And that is what opens your mind to start attracting success naturally. There is an equation I want you to remember for the rest of your life. Never forget this. This equation is what governs how your life works, whether you are aware of it or not. It is also what people refer to as the process of manifestation, which simply means before anything becomes real in your physical life, it must pass through a process. And that process is this: thoughts plus emotions plus actions equals results. Everything you are experiencing right now is a result of this equation. Not luck, not coincidence, not something that just happened. It is the outcome of your thoughts, your emotions, and your actions working together over time. Now, the reason I'm explaining it this way, like a mathematical equation, is because most people misunderstand it. Most people stop at the third part. They focus only on thoughts and emotions. They repeat affirmations. They say positive things. They try to feel good, and they believe that is enough. So they sit there with positive thoughts, strong emotions, but no results. And they get confused, because they were told that if they think and feel the right way, their life will automatically change. But that is not complete. That is where the problem is. Now look at what we have already done. In the first step, we dealt with your thoughts. We helped you understand why you have the results you currently have. We exposed the way your mind has been wired and how your thinking has been shaped. In the second and third step, we dealt with your emotions and your beliefs. We explained how to identify your limiting beliefs. We showed you how to replace them with supportive beliefs. So now your thoughts and your internal world are being corrected. But there is one crucial part left, and that part is action. Without action, nothing changes in your physical life. You can think all you want. You can feel all you want. But if there is no action, there will be no results. Because success is not created by beliefs alone. Success is created by habits. And not just any habits, successful habits. That is what creates success. Now understand this properly. Beliefs are important, very important, because they are the foundation. They are what your habits are built on. But beliefs alone do not produce results. They only prepare the ground. Your habits are what produce the results. So if you have limiting beliefs, by default, you will have limiting habits. And those limiting habits will produce limiting results. It is automatic. You cannot have a limiting belief supporting a successful habit. It does not work. If deep down you believe money is hard to get, your actions will reflect struggle. If you believe success is not for you, your behavior will reflect hesitation. If you believe rich people are bad, you will unconsciously push away opportunities that can make you rich. So belief formation is the first step, but it is not the only step. Your thoughts and your emotions help you build your beliefs, but your beliefs must now be expressed through action, because it is your beliefs combined with your actions that create your habits, and it is your habits that create your life. So when you get to this stage, you must act. Not just any action, action that is in alignment with the new beliefs you have built. If you say you are disciplined, you must act like someone who is disciplined. If you say you are focused, you must act like someone who is focused. If you say you are someone who follows through, you must actually follow through. That is how you connect your internal world to your external reality. Because your subconscious mind does not operate on beliefs alone. It operates on habits. And habits are built through repeated action. Now this stage is where it becomes difficult, because this is where everything becomes real. This is where you are no longer just thinking or feeling. You are now acting differently, and your subconscious mind does not like that. Your subconscious mind is designed to keep things the same. It is designed to keep you within what is familiar. So the moment you start acting differently, it sends a signal that something is wrong. It starts to resist. It starts to push back. It starts to bring up your old patterns, your old excuses, your old fears, your old doubts. This is the stage where you will feel like going back. This is the stage where you will feel like stopping. This is the stage where your limiting beliefs become very visible. Because now they are being challenged, they are being exposed, they are being forced out of their comfort zone, and they will fight to stay. That is why this stage is not easy, but it is necessary, because this is the stage where transformation actually happens. Understand that this resistance is natural. There is nothing wrong with you. You need to understand that first, because if you don't, you will misinterpret the whole process. The moment resistance shows up, most people start thinking, maybe this is not for me. Maybe I am forcing it. Maybe I am not meant for this kind of life. Maybe I should stop. No, that is not what resistance means. Resistance is not a signal to stop. It is not proof that you are on the wrong path. It is proof that something in you is being challenged. It is proof that your old programming is being disturbed. It is proof that change is happening. And that is why you must not panic when you feel it. Your subconscious mind will come up with all kinds of reasonable excuses at this stage. And that is what makes it dangerous, because the excuses will not sound foolish. They will sound sensible. They will sound logical. They will sound like they are protecting you. You will hear things like, rest small, start tomorrow. This is too much. You are doing too much. Maybe this is not your path. You can always do it later. And if you are not aware, you will think those thoughts are wisdom. But most of the time, it is just your subconscious trying to preserve what is familiar. Because your subconscious hates change. Change is the unknown, and the subconscious is scared of the unknown. It is always trying to predict what comes next so that it can keep you safe. That is its job. So when you begin to act in ways that are different from your normal patterns, it reads that as danger. Not because what you are doing is wrong, but because it is unfamiliar. And the brain does not naturally like unfamiliarity. Your brain has evolved to save energy. That is why it automates almost everything in your life. Look at your breathing. You don't think about it, but it happens. Look at your digestion. You don't command it, but it works. Look at your walking, your language, your reactions, the way you respond to familiar situations. So much of your life is automated because the brain is always trying to conserve energy. Automation is efficient. It helps you survive. It prevents you from using too much mental effort on things that have already been learned. So when you try to do something outside of what has already been automated, you are asking the brain to use more energy. You are asking it to pay attention in a new way. You are asking it to stop doing what is easy and familiar and start building something new. And the brain does not like that. It resists it. That is why you have to see this stage for what it really is. It is not failure. It is not a sign that you are not good enough. It is not proof that the new life you want is not for you. It is simply your old limiting beliefs trying to use their final strength to survive. That is all it is. Old beliefs do not leave quietly. Old patterns do not disappear without a fight. Because they have been running your life for a long time. They have been your normal. They have been your comfort zone. So when you begin to challenge them, of course they react. Of course they push back. Of course they try to make you go back. But this is where you need to become bigger than your feelings. This is very important. Your feelings are not your master. Your feelings are your servants. They are meant to inform you, not control you. Because when you are struggling, your feelings do not solve the struggle for you. When life becomes hard, your feelings do not carry the burden for you. So you cannot live your life as if every feeling must be obeyed. You have to be stronger than what you feel in the moment. You have to be able to say, I feel this resistance, but I am not going to bow to it. That is maturity. That is self-control. That is how transformation happens. Resistance is only proof that you are changing. It is proof that you are leaving behind what is comfortable, and nothing grows in comfort. Comfort may feel good, but comfort does not stretch you. Comfort does not transform you. Comfort keeps things the same. And if your life has stayed the same for years, then comfort is not your friend. Growth needs discomfort. It needs friction. It needs stretching. Think about rain and storms. Most people do not like them. They are inconvenient. They are uncomfortable. They interrupt things. But that is what helps plants grow. Without rain, there is no growth. Without pressure, there is no strengthening. Without discomfort, there is no expansion. Even sadness has its place. Nobody likes sadness. Nobody prays for pain. But many times, it is sadness that teaches you the value of joy. It is loss that teaches you the value of presence. It is difficulty that teaches you strength. The opposite is often necessary to make the next stage meaningful. That is why you must stop seeing resistance as something evil. Resistance has a role. It reveals to you that you are no longer moving in circles. It reveals to you that your old self is being challenged. It reveals to you that something new is trying to be born. So you need to outlast this stage. That is the key. You do not run from it. You do not obey it. You outlast it. And another thing you must understand is this. You cannot fight resistance with more resistance, because if you resist it, it persists. The more energy you throw at fighting it emotionally, the more power you keep giving it. Because resistance itself is energy, and whatever you keep feeding with energy tends to grow. So instead of panicking, instead of fighting, instead of saying, "Why am I feeling this? I need this to go away," do something else. Accept it. Be present with it. Acknowledge it. See it. Name it for what it is. This is resistance. This is discomfort. This is my old programming reacting. And then let it be there without making it mean something terrible. Do not make it mean you should stop. Do not make it mean you are failing. Do not make it mean you are not meant for more. Just let it be there and keep moving. Because with time, it passes. That is the part many people never get to see because they quit too early. They think the discomfort is permanent. They think the resistance will always feel this strong. It won't. If you stay present, if you stay steady, if you keep acting in alignment with your new beliefs, the resistance begins to weaken. Your subconscious begins to adapt. What once felt strange starts to feel more normal. What once felt difficult starts to feel easier. What once felt impossible starts to feel natural. That is how successful habits are built, not by escaping discomfort, but by staying long enough for your mind to accept the new pattern. And once that happens, success no longer feels like something you are forcing. It starts to feel like who you are. And that is when success becomes inevitable in your life. This is how you train your mind to start attracting success. You need to understand this part very well. Success has its own frequency. It operates on a certain level. And if you are not on that level, you will not experience it, no matter how much you say you want it. Because you cannot attract what you are not aligned with. Now, when I say frequency, I'm not talking about something mystical. I'm talking about your beliefs, your habits, your actions, your way of thinking, your way of living. That is your frequency. That is what you are operating on every single day. So if your beliefs are limiting, your habits are inconsistent, your actions are not aligned, then you are operating on a level that cannot sustain success. And if success cannot be sustained at that level, it will not come to you. Not because it does not exist, but because you are not in a position to receive it. So if you want to attract success, you have to become attractive to it. You cannot attract success from the same level that is keeping you stuck. You have to rise. You have to align your beliefs. You have to align your habits. You have to align your actions. You have to align your life. When all of these things begin to match the level at which success operates, something changes. You stop chasing, you stop forcing, you stop struggling the same way, and things begin to come together more naturally. Think about it like a magnet. When you bring a magnet close enough to metal, you don't beg it to attract. You don't force it. You don't pray over it. It attracts naturally. Why? Because it is in alignment with what it is supposed to attract. That is the law. In the same way, you are a magnet. Your life is constantly attracting based on what you are aligned with. So if you align yourself with success, if your thoughts, your beliefs, your habits, and your actions are all pointing in that direction, you will naturally begin to attract success into your life. Not because of luck, not because of chance, but because you have become the kind of person that success belongs to. And when you reach that point, you don't struggle to be successful anymore. You become it. I hope you got value from this. If you did, subscribe to the channel. It helps us grow and reach more people who need to understand this. I'll see you in the next video.